Hope this is working all right. I have my earbuds in. My husband told me it would be better sound if I started using my earbuds when I did my live videos. So I'm going to give that a try and hopefully it'll work all right. Last week we did this really cool pop-up class, and you guys know that when I do a pop-up class, I like to recreate it on our lives so that the people that weren't able to come, because pop-up classes you usually get like 24 to 48 hours notice. I try to fill it up as quick as I can, but we're going to recreate it today. Now, this is the card that we made. I don't know. Let's see if you can see it this way. This is the card we made last week, and it really doesn't have a name for it. Um, but it seems kind of like a two-part fun fold. it's it's got some glue tabs. It's got this nice little short piece in here, and I'm sure somewhere out there there's a name for it, but I do not know the name for it, and I really should know that, huh? So this is going to be made with a large base and a small base, and then back in here. I don't know if you can see this because it's white on white. We've got some glue tabs, but we used last week the Scrapbook Supply Company paper, and it made a beautiful card. And I had some little chipboard sea creatures that I had already cut out with the laser cutter in the back. But this week I thought, how cool would it be to now take this paper that I have fallen in love with? It's called Seize the Day. It's one of the new releases from Graphic 45. It's called Seize the Day, and it's got these fun little cutouts and these beautiful patterns. Look at these patterns. Oh my word. This is like some coral and seaweed. And then we've got these waves. I know that some of you may have watched my unboxing of this. And these waves, they're just gorgeous. And then it's kind of like a purple textured looking type on the B side. And I just thought, how cool would it be to use this to recreate the pop-up card that we did last week? So we're going to do that, and I've got some of the shimmer papers. You guys know how I love to use the shimmer papers for the mat, and I thought these two went really well with it. So we've got some purple shimmer paper, and I've got my beautiful teal shimmer paper, and then I've got my white cardstock for the base. So let's get to it. All right, so I'm going to get out my trimmer. I'm going to be using my We Are Memory Keepers trimmer because there's a lot of scoring that we're going to need to do. And I love this trimmer for scoring. I also really enjoy the fact that it's already got a corner rounder. It's got a little hole punch. It's got a little slot maker. It can make banners and bows and, oh, you name it. It's even got a stamping platform, but I've got that down on my cart. But a little stamping platform that goes on here. And it stamps over top of these ridges. Hear them? Hear those ridges? I thought that that would make a really bad stamp on there, but it stamps beautifully like any other stamping platform. So I highly recommend this. We are out of them right now. We sold out of them, and we're waiting for our third order of these to come in. So it's called the All-in-One Trimmer Scoreboard, All-in-One Trimmer and Scoreboard. It's by We Are Memory Keepers, and we are getting more in. Okay, so like I said, this card has a couple of different parts to it. So we're going to cut our white cardstock first. So I'm going to take my full sheet of white cardstock, and the first piece we're going to need is 8.5 by 5.5. So I'm going to cut it on the long side. And when I say long side, that means the longest side of the paper is going to be up against where the um, ruler is. So we're going to cut it here at 5.5. And then I'm going to turn it onto the 8.5 side, so I don't have to do another cut, but I do want to double check and make sure that it's 8.5, and it's actually just, I wouldn't even say maybe a 32nd over. And I like to do that because if you see this, one, it's just a little bit crooked, and two, you can see that there was enough of a difference at that 8.5. This would be overlapping, and that would make it a little bit hard for our fold to happen. All right, so now we've got it turned on the 8.5-inch side. It is exactly 8.5 inches. We trimmed it. We made sure that that was all working. I'm going to get my score tool out here, and I'm going to score both ends at 2 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead and score this at 2 1/8. And remember, you're working with paper, not steel. Then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to score the other end at 2 1/8. Okay, so we've got two score marks in there. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to get out another piece of paper. Now, the second piece of paper for the small box, or the small, and is this the right card? Yeah, I'm just in case you don't know what I'm doing, I have the directions written up on the chalkboard up there, and I was saying 3 by 6.5, and it's not, it's 3 by 10.5 because I knew that I wasn't going to be using this. All right, so I'm going to get my second piece of white cardstock out, and I'm going to cut this down to 3 inches on the short side, and then I'm going to turn it and trim it at 10.5. So this is 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to cut it at 3 inches, and then I'm going to turn it onto the 11-inch side, and I'm going to cut it down to 10.5. Okay, so 10.5. All right. Now we're going to score this at 2 1/8, 4 1/4, 6 3/8, and then 8.5. Or you can score it at 2 1/8. Move that over. 2 1/8, 4 1/4. Now on this trimmer, you'll see it doesn't go past the 6 inches. What I'm going to do is, because I know that we're making 5 equal 2 1/8 boxes, if I turn it around to the other end and score at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4, that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal boxes. Okay, so now I've got that scored. I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to take either one of these. It doesn't matter. Now I know that this piece here is already a good size to use for another card base, so I'm going to set that aside. I don't want to mess with that. However, I could make another card base out of this, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this at 4 1/4, because I can use this as a regular A2 card. If I trim this at 4 1/4, that'll make another nice card base for me, because I only need two pieces that measure 1 inch by 2.5 inches. So what I've trimmed off, I can get my 1 inch out of. So I'm going to cut this at 1 inch. I'm going to throw this little piece away, and then I'm going to trim this off so that I have two pieces that are 2.5 inches. 1 and 2. All right, so I don't need this. I'm going to throw that away so I don't get it confused. All right, so now I've got these two pieces. Now these two pieces are actually going to be my glue tabs, and I need to fold them hot dog style. Now you can score these at 1/2 inch, or you can just fold them in half. Okay, they're easy enough to fold. They're 1 inch. It's going to fold right on the 1/2 inch if you fold them in half. And I say hot dog style because this looks more like a hot dog bun than it does a hamburger bun. If I did this, then it would be a hamburger. And some of my elementary school teachers that come to the classes, they're the ones that told me that, and it just made so much sense when they said it. I was like, I've got to start using that. All right, so now I've got all of my bases cut. I've got my piece that measures 10.5 by 3 inches, scored at 2 1/8, 4 1/4, turned and scored again at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4, giving me 5 equal sections. Then I've got my two glue tabs, and you'll see where these are going to come in. Okay, And then I've got my larger base that's scored at 2 1/8 and turned and scored at 2 1/8. This is 8.5 by 5.5. Remember, A2 size card. All right, now we're going to cut our mats. All right, so I'm going to cut my mats. I didn't know if I wanted to use purple or teal. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use um, teal on the larger pieces. That's going to be the ones that go on here. I'm going to use teal, and then the smaller ones, the one with the 5 equal, I'm going to use my purple shimmer. All right, so for my teal, we're going to cut this down to, I know that you guys don't like the 8s, but I can't help myself. I love using the 8s because I like that nice thin border for my mats. All right, so this is going to get cut down to 5 3/8. And then we're going to cut them 2 pieces at 2 inches. 1 and 2. All right. And then I'm going to need 1 piece at 4 1/8. All right. So they're going to fit right in here on this mat. All right. Just like that. Now I'm going to cut these. Remember, this is 3 inches by 2 1/8, and we're going to knock off 1/8 of an inch on each one of these. So we're going to cut 2 inches by 2 7/8, and we need 5 pieces, and that I want to do in the purple. All right. So I'm going to actually turn it on the long side, and I'm going to cut it at 2 7/8. Then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut it at 2 inches. Now I need 5 of these. 2, cutting it at 2 inches. That's 3, 4. Scooch over there. There we go. And now the reason I'm saying scooch over, and it does look like I'm right here on the 2, is these little gullies here. A lot of people say to me, oh, I made the cut in the same mark, but they're completely different. These little gullies here, they're about a 1/16 of an inch, okay? So if you go all the way over to the left side of the gully on one cut, and you go all the way over to the right side of the gully on another cut, that's a 1/16 of an inch. Do it twice, that's 1/8 of an inch. Do it 4 times, that's 1/4 of an inch. Now we're using 5 pieces of paper here, so if I did that a couple of times, we're going to be off 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch on some of these papers, and we don't want that. So what you do is always take your paper right to the center of these gullies, and then that way you know that all of your cuts are going to be exactly the same. And that's exactly where the mark should be, is right in the center. So I see that I've got about half out here, so I'm going to make my cut there. All right, so now I've got my 5 there. All right, now what I want to do is I'm going to move this out of the way for a second, and I want to get out my We Are Memory Keepers corner rounder, my chompy one. It's called a Crocodile Corner Chomper, and this here is by We Are Memory Keepers. We don't always have these in the store, but I can order them for you. So if this is something that you want, I can definitely get this for you. It corner rounds at 1/4 of an inch on one side, and then you flip it over and it's a 1/2 an inch on the other side. These little doors open like this so that you can slide the corners of your paper in. All right, now let me bring these over here. So I want to round the corners on my base and then on my mats as well. So I'm going to do 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to make sure I'm on the 1/4 inch side, and I just slide the paper in and chomp it off, and see how nice those corners come out. I just think that sometimes when you do, that one didn't come out quite as nice. I think when you do rounded corners, your card looks so much more finished. Okay, and kind of pay attention, because if you don't get it in there square, you're going to mess up like I did on this little corner. See how I got a little thing there? All right, so we've got that one done. Now I'm going to lay these out on here. I want you to be able to see this. This one I do not need to round. I don't need to round the 3 in the middle, but these 2 on the end, I want to round the corners. Now, these are the same on both sides, and you can turn them either way. They're non-directional, so it's not going to matter which way I chop my corners off on them. But I want to do it just on 2 of the corners where it's going to match the papers. I'm going to do this on the same one for the other end. Okay, and then the same thing here. Let's round the corners on the base first. Make sure we're in there properly. And I wasn't. See that? I hate when I do that. Okay, so this is good. Okay, there we go. That's much better. Okay, get it in there just right. Why is this not rounding perfectly? There we go. All right, let's get that in there. There we go. That one's really good. A little bit of a learning curve, but now I've been using this for years. All right, now this one here is going to go right there in the center. I don't need to round the corners, but I need to round 2 on here. So let's make sure we get some nice rounded corners here. Just does not seem to want to round. Oh, look at, see, I see what it is. Hold on. Let me get this little tool. Get that out of there. All right. Had a little bit of tape. Throw that away. Had a little bit of tape on there, and that was keeping me from getting it just right. Okay. Perfect. Do these 2. Perfect. There we go. See, I knew it was something that was messing me up. All right, now these are going to match up on here and here. I'm going to take a little scissor just to give that little piece a little tiny trim there. Sometimes your stuff needs a little haircut. There we go. And that'll go right down there. All right, perfect. So we've got those 2 done. Those are the corners. Now we're going to put these down after we cut these. So now we've got, I want to use this on the large one. I'm going to use this. How pretty is this? Look at these little fish. The bright colors, the purples, the teals, the greens, the oranges, everything's beautiful. So I'm going to use this on the large one, this on the small one, and then I'm going to use this turtle right here. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to use this turtle right here as the front of the card. All right, so let's cut the large ones first. So now we cut these at 5 3/8 by 2 inches. So we want to go down 1/8. So we're going to cut it at 5 1/4 by 1 7/8 of an inch. So we're going to get our trimmer back out. First thing I'm going to do is cut my 5 1/4. Now I want to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. So I know that my length is the 5 1/4. So I want to make sure that my waves are going to be waving in the right direction. It would look fine either way, but I want them going horizontally, not vertically. But I have to put it on the 5 1/4 vertically so that I have the length correct. All right, so we've got 5 1/4 here, and then we're going to turn it and we're going to cut 2 of them at 1 7/8. Okay, 1 and 2. Now, we're going to also need to round the corners on these. But one of them I need to do on the left-hand side, and the other one I need to do on the right-hand side so that my waves are still going in the correct direction. All right. And you know what I just thought? I'm going to put this also in the center, and I want these to all go together. So I'm going to use this one on the left hand side. Then I'm going to cut my, we've got the 4 1/8. I'm going to cut my 4" out of here so that these all line up together. See that? See how they match? And then I'm going to cut another 1 7/8 off here so that when all 3 of them are together, they all match. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to round the right hand corners on this and the left hand side corners on that. So let's move that out of the way. Let's get our 1/4 inch quarter rounder. Get this to the left hand side. Round these 2 corners. Okay, that's perfect. We don't need to round this. This one we're going to round the right hand side. So there. Perfect. All right. Now we can glue that one all together. All right. And I just want to double check something because I'm going to put my tabs on here. Yeah, here's my tabs. I want to glue my tabs on before I glue any of my papers on. All right, so first things first, let's fold on our score marks. What do I say? Bury the worm. And that means, see this where you've scored here? It pushes this up. You want to bury the worm. I call this the worm, and I'm covering the worm just like that. All right, because when you press your score in here, it's stretching those fibers. Now, if you're going to stretch them this way, you need to fold them under. If you're folding them, it stretches them more and you've got more of a chance of them ripping. This way, they're not going to rip. All right, so we're going to put our pieces in here. And we actually need 2 of these. Oh, Kathleen, what are you doing? Not paying very close attention to your directions up there. I'm just kind of like going by off the seat of my pants here. All right, so we need to cut this down to 5 3/8, and we're going to trim off 2 more pieces that are 2 inches, and we're going to round those pieces. All right, so we've got the 5 3/8, then we made these 2 inches. 1, 2. Now remember, these ones we did not have to stress about what side because it's non-directional. So we're going to 1, 2, get that rounded, and 1, 2. We got this one rounded. All right. Let's put this back over there. All right, let's glue the inside first so that we don't have too many of these patterns floating around and a bigger chance of getting them mixed up because we want that pattern to go together nicely. All right, first thing we're going to do is glue down our 4 3/8 by 4 1/8 right there into the center of that larger card base, leaving a nice little white border around that. Then we're going to glue our 4 by 5 1/4 on top of that. Okay. Got a nice little blue border going around there. Now let's glue our sides on. Now this is the inside sides. We cut the blue, the teal for the outside sides, and then we're going to cut our pattern paper after we get this together. And I might even use some of the other paper on that. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay, let's get this pattern paper glued down. Make sure you've got a nice even border going around all 4 of your edges, even though you've rounded these corners. Glue our teal down. Okay, got a nice even white border around there. Just glue twice, same spot, glued my hand. Look at this, I'm a mess. All right, get this glued down and see how they all line up. So this wave follows through, this wave follows through. I like when your cards, just those little tiny details like that just make such a difference when you're doing your card making. All right, so now we need to do the front of the card. So we've already got these cut. All right, so let's glue those down. These are going to go on the front gate part of the card. And you want to do the same thing, a nice little white border, even on all four edges. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's get this one glued down. Now, after this is glued down, I need to make a decision. Do I want to use that same purple pattern on the outside? Now remember, I'm going to have this beautiful little turtle here. Maybe I should cut this out before, and then that way I can see just what it's going to look like. And when I'm cutting these out like this, sometimes I'll trim it with my trimmer, and I'm going to clean this up with my little guillotine trimmer. But for right now, I'm just going to cut this one out because he's kind of like in the middle on the edge, and this way I don't want to completely cut apart all of these. But see, these are the ones that have those postcards on there. I just think they're the cutest things. Now what I'll do is I'll hold on to this piece because we're making a couple of projects in June out of this paper. So I'll hold on to this in case anybody needs any extra postcards or anything for any of their projects. But this is the only one that we're going to use today. All right, so let me put this under there. I'm going to get my little baby guillotine. Again, we are memory keepers. All right, now I'm going to go right up against the edge here and trim all that blue off. Okay, and I just think that the guillotines do such a nice job with that as opposed to the blades that you slide up and down. You just have a nice, clean, crisp edge when you're doing that. See how nice and clean that came out? Now, you guessed it, we're going to round them. So let me move that out of the way, get my rounder out. Now this is going on the center of the front of the card. Okay, yep, there's the 1/4 inch. All right, so I want to round all four of my corners because you're going to see that this is going to be the focal point of the center of the card. And yeah, I'm partial to the turtles and I love this. So let's see here. I want to put this in the center here. All right, so we know we've got the blue for the background there. This is originally what I was thinking, but then I looked over and I saw this. Now this is what we're going to use on the smaller pieces. I want to kind of see how this looks. Okay, I like it, but I am going to back it. So I'm going to put it on this, round the corners, and oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to use this to do my gates here. All right, so we cut this at 5 3/8 by 2, and we cut these at 5 1/4 by 1 7/8. So here we go with this. We're going to cut this at 5 1/4. Let me move that out of the way. And again, we want the 5 1/4 to be the length. When you're looking at the length being your first cut, you want to make sure that you're laying your paper down so that everything's on its side. So all of this coral and everything is on its side. And I'm going to bring it to 5 1/4 right there in the center of that gully. Okay. And then I'm going to cut two pieces off that are 1 7/8, and I'm going to make them so that they match up just like we did the inside. The inside we did 3, but this one we only have to do 2. All right, so 1 7/8 and 1 7/8. All right, and see how they match up, the little fish's tails there and this piece of corals there. So when this card is closed like this, I want this one on this side. So that means that these are the 2 corners I'm going to have to round. I might as well do that now so that it's fresh in my mind. Okay. And if you were just looking at it, because they're the 2 pieces that are going together, you wouldn't automatically think to yourself, oh, I'm going to round those inside corners. Because I was thinking, or at least I was thinking outside like these, but they're not. They're on the inside because they're closed. So we're going to round these 2 corners now. Make sure the 1/4 inch is open. We're going to chop them. All right. Now we might as well glue them in while we're here because we know that this is what we want. Okay. Nice even blue border all the way around. Here we go again. Nice even blue border. All right. Very nice. Kathleen, you were supposed to leave it so that you could put these in there. All right. So even I make mistakes. So this tool from the Cricut pack, I use this not for anything Cricut related, not for anything Cricut related, but when I forget to do stuff like this, I like to take this tool and use that to go in between my pieces of paper so that I have just that little opening that I'm looking for to slide those little pieces in. In a perfect world, I would have glued these down before I put them on there, but I was so excited about matching up and using the right colors and all like that that I completely forgot to do that. So what I want to do is slide these in there. So I need this just a little bit more. Okay, so let's get this one down, and this one needs to come up just a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So these are going to slide right in here, and these are your glue tabs. They got to be a little deeper, 1/2 inch. I need to make it a 1/2 inch deeper. You're not going to have to do this because you're going to say, oh no, Kathleen made that mistake, so I better not make the same one. So see how they're just going to slide in there so that you can glue them down. So these are the glue tabs that that smaller section gets added to. All right, so I've got that open nicely. So these will fit in there. I'm going to put glue on both sides. We're going to slide this in there. Now I know that you fit in there because I just had you in there. There we go. Slide that in there. I'm going to try to make it as centered as I can. And it looks pretty darn good. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing to this side. All you have to do is take your little glue tabs and you're going to glue them right onto the white cardstock, just like that. I'm making a little slit to get them in there because I did not get them glued down, or I got them glued down too soon, so I didn't get these glued in. All right, let's make sure that these are nice and even. You want them right together in the same spot. All right, so I've got it so that they're good in there. All right, I'm going to put my glue on both sides. Slide it in there. Now let's make sure that they're nice and even. This has got to come down just a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. Perfectly even. There we go. All right. So these two little glue tabs here are very important because that's what holds this card together, okay? All right, so we've got our little fish now. We want to make sure it's going in the right direction. So we've got our little fish so that they match up, our corals all ready to go. Now let's put our other side, our other base together. So we're going to take this and glue this together. Get that out of my way. Okay. Nice little white border around the lavender, the purple. It's not quite periwinkle, not enough blue for periwinkle, but it's quite a pretty color. I love this shimmer paper. We sell this here at the shop by the sheet. It's not perfect for every project, but man, does it dress up certain projects. Okay. I'm just going to hold it up here and see if you can see how it shimmers. It's really a pretty paper. And it's a nice, thick, heavy cardstock. But not so heavy that you can't use it for bases or you can't do any layering with it. But it is nice and sturdy. All right, so we've got these in here. Got two more to glue down. All right, and one more after this. Okay, now our last one that's got our curved edges. All right. All right, now I want to use this paper on there, and it's just enough because this one we don't have to do that with. This one is actually going to have this glued down on top of it so that it's centered in the card. All right, so let's get this cut. All right, I really like where these little fishes are and the starfish there. So we know that this is 3 inches, then the purple is 2 7 inches in length, 7/8, 2 7/8 inches. So we need 2 3/4, and I'm going to trim it so that I can have these on there as a kind of focal point. All right, so I see this. Here's my 2 3/4. All right, I'm going to bring that up just a little bit so I know that all of this is going to get cut off and all of this is going to get cut off, and that kind of puts these right in the middle. That's just right for what I want to do. So I'm going to trim that off, then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to put it right at the 2 3/4 right there. All right. Now we had these 2 1/8, and then the purple is 2. So this is going to be 1 7/8. All right. So we're going to cut 1 7/8. We only need 4 of these because that fifth one, 1 7/8, is going to be the sea turtle on the front of the card. 1 7/8 and 1 7/8. So we've got this little piece here that we don't need. All right, now we want to make sure that they're all going to stay together. These corals are matching up, this green coral is matching up, and our little fish, there we go, they'll match up. Now this one is going to go on the end here, so we need to round these corners. We want to make sure we're using our 1/4 inch. Okay, and let's glue him down first. Okay, and this one's going right next to it. Make sure we've got an even border, or as even as possible, as even as possible. Okay. So it's funny, sometimes people will make mistakes and they'll say, oh, I can't do it perfect like you, Kathleen. Kathleen's not perfect. And they hand it to me to fix. You know why I know how to fix it? Because I've usually made the same mistake, and I've figured out ways so that I haven't wasted my time. If I make a mistake, I figure out how to fix it so I have my material not wasted and my time not wasted. So that's how I figured out how to do that with the little glue tabs. That is not the first time I've done that, my friend. All right. So we don't want to glue this on here yet. One, we want to put a border around it. That's the first thing. But two, we won't know where it actually is going to go until after we've got this glued down. So these two glue tabs, we're going to glue these on first, and then this center one is going to get glued down in there. But I want to make sure that I'm putting these on the glue tabs correctly first. All right. So I kind of lay it where I think it's going to go, and then I fold it. And then I fold this side, and then I make sure everything's even before I do any gluing. All right, so this is how it's going to go. All right, then I unfold just a little bit. I want to hold that bottom piece in place. I'm going to put glue on this glue tab. Okay, and then I'm going to press that piece down. All right, and then I'm going to finish it by folding it back down, and then I'm going to lift this one up, and I'm just going to put some glue on this glue tab, and that's going to get folded down there. Okay, now we're going to put this on here. So now we can see where the center is, but remember I said I wanted to mat it on here. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this, and I'm thinking I would have been wrong. I was thinking 3 inches, but we're at 3 7/8 by, I'm lying to you, 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. All right, so we want to go up 1/8 of an inch. So that makes it real easy. 3 by 4. All right, so I'm going to cut this down to 3 by 4, and where's there we are. Get my little guillotine cutter out here. I'm going to cut this 3 by 4. So I'm going to cut that at 3, turn it, cut it at 4. I'm going to dry fit it before I round the corners. Make sure I've got it. Yep, perfect. All right, now we're going to round the corners. We did 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to follow through and do 1/4 of an inch all the way around this. And again, rounding the corners, it doesn't take long, but it just gives it such a finished feel, or at least to me it does. All right, so let's glue that down. Measure twice, glue once. You saw that I measured it, and then before I put glue on it, I still did an extra dry fit just to make sure it fit in there. All right. Oh, yeah, look at that. Look how stinking cute he is. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. All right, so now I want him here. So actually, I didn't even have to put this purple shimmer paper down there, and I didn't even have to round those, but it's done and it looks nice. All right, so we're going to put him right in there. All right, so that when this opens, it'll go like that. Okay, just like that. Okay, and we have to glue this down to the center. Now, this, when you fold this up, this is telling you right where the center is. You don't have to do any guesswork. So what I do is I kind of make an octagon out of it, and I put some glue here on the inside there. Okay, turn it back over, flatten them out, and it goes right to where it's supposed to. So now this is glued in nice. All right. Now I want to make sure that I've got this in the right direction. Yep, my fish are swimming in the right direction. These fish are swimming in the right direction. Now we're going to put this focal point on. Okay. So let's just put some glue. Remember, you always want to put your glue on your smallest objects, because if I covered this with glue, we're going to have glue all over the place, and that's not what we want. So you always want to put your glue on the smallest part of what you're gluing. All right, we've got that done. Now let's put this in here so that it's centered. All right, making it straight, even, looks good. All right, and then let's see what it does when we open it. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, that's so pretty. Now, on the original one, here in the center, I put, hope your birthday is a huge splash. That'll go with this just as well, and I've got that stamp right here. But so I don't want to just glue it right onto, or I don't want to stamp it right onto this pattern paper. So I'm going to look and see. I've got this white that we used here, and I think I had that other one. Did I not have a little scrap of white that I could use? Guess I didn't. All right, well, we're going to turn this into a scrap. All right, so we know this is 1 7/8. We know this is 3, so that's 2 3/4. So 1 7/8, 2 3/4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this first down here in the corner, because I really don't want it to be much more than 1 1/4 by 2-ish. All right, so let's stamp it first, and then I'm going to trim it down. Okay. All right, let's try to get this even. Ah, it's crooked. Let's try one more. All right, let's do it right here. And if it comes out crooked, then I'm going to straighten it up when I do my trimming. Ah, better. It's better. Okay. Cover that ink, or else you know what happens. What the sleeve, my arm, all of it goes right in there. All right, so let's trim this off. So we look like we're going to be about 1 1/2 by 1 1/4. And I like that. That's good. That way we don't cover up so much of our picture. That'll fit right in there perfectly. What do you think, guys? Should I round the corners on this? I'm gonna. I'm gonna. Okay. Oh, yeah. That was a good call. Good call, Kathleen. Ooh, I kind of like that 3 corners rounded in that one, but it doesn't match the rest of the card. We're going to round all 4 corners. But I really like that little look that it had there. All right, now we're going to put glue on here. I don't want to pop it up because there's already so much dimension in this card. I think that it'll take away from the pop-up effect if we tried to pop it up. So, yeah, look at that. Look at that. Oh, that looks good. I like that. All right, we're finished. All right, so here's our card. We've got Seize the Day with our little beautiful turtle on here. Let me bring this down. All right, so we've got Seize the Day. Then when we open it, we've got this nice pop-up effect, pop-out effect. And we've got Hope Your Birthday is a Huge Splash. Now, to finish off this card, what I'm going to do is on the back, I'm going to stamp it with Handmade with Love, Krafts by Kathleen. All right, so I'm going to get this so that it's as centered as possible. Voila. Handmade from the heart. That's what it says, not handmade with love. Handmade from the Heart, Krafts by Kathleen. All right. Well, I hope I've inspired you to come in and grab some of this beautiful Seize the Day paper. Graphic 45 really outdid themselves with this. The colors are bright, brilliant, beautiful. Excuse me. Sitting here talking for all that time, my mouth dries out. So, and yes, Yvonne, it's water. I'm lying. It's iced coffee. Yvonne always wants me drinking more water. Drink more water. Tell her it is water. I got coffee in my water. All right, so we've got all these beautiful colors from Graphic 45 Seize the Day. Now, if you want to win this card, watch this video all the way through, watch it to the end, and then in the comments, the first person that comments turtle, I will save this card for you here at the shop if you're local, and if you're not local, I'll mail it to you. All right, but you have to comment in the comments under this video turtle, and it needs to be done within the next couple of days. So I don't want to see it like 6 weeks from now and go, oh no, what did I do? Did I sell that card? No, I want to make sure that if you win it, you get it. All right, so comment, the first person to comment turtle will win this card. And like I said, if you're local here at the shop, I'll make sure that you get it to pick it up. If not, we'll put it in the mail and send it to you. And I hope that I've inspired you, like I said, to come in and get some of this Seize the Day paper. We've got the 12 by 12 paper packs. We've got the 8.5 by 11 patterns and solids. We have open stock, ephemera, stickers, the rub-ons, all of it. Beautiful, beautiful paper. And so is the fairy paper that they did as well. So I also hope that I've inspired you to do some fun folds. I can't get enough fun folds. So that's what I've been focusing on, and I hope that you're enjoying them. And I want you to see the difference between these two cards. So this one has uh, the big focal point. This one has more of a small focal point. It's more just about once it's opened, and it's got these cute little chipboard cutouts for this. And then this one has the nice big focal point, and it's still just as beautiful when it's open. So you can do this in all kinds of patterns and designs and ephemera. So again, I hope I've inspired you to do something crafty today, and I will talk to you all real soon. Bye bye.